What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Chris and Sheree Geo here, coming to you from Beyond the Veil. I wanted to jump on and do a quick little show. I've had Mandela effects on my mind, and one in particular having to do with Al Capone. And I was watching the movie Untouchables just a little while ago, actually yesterday, and I swear I remember a very, very, very different outcome in that movie. I remember the movie being completely different, which led me to look up Al Capone, and come to find out, he didn't die when I thought he did, or how he did either. So, you know me, I'm a big mafia buff, and I love mafia history. But apparently somebody posted it on Reddit 3 years ago, so I just missed that Mandela effect. But the Mandela effect is being studied by mainstream scientists. And this is what really caught the eye and caught the attention for tonight's show, because we just typed in Mandela effect in news and came up with news articles where they're actually studying the Mandela effect. So, I don't know if we'll get into Mandela effects themselves. We might get into some new ones, but I think it's worthwhile going over the fact that mainstream science is taking this seriously. Now, not by any means should we trust the science or anything like that, but when you have these truths sitting in the background, and we've been talking about them for years and years and years. I mean, I remember our first Mandela effect was when we first got together, and it was before that term was even coined.
Yeah.
We went to go fill up our water bottles at this reverse osmosis place. And all of a sudden, it's gone. And we were just there like a week prior to that.
Yeah.
So the whole building was...
This place had pipes hanging from the ceiling, didn't it?
Yeah.
And then suddenly it didn't.
Yeah, it was just gone.
Yeah.
So we noticed that. Then I started to notice roads, buildings, things like that popping up where they weren't before. And I started asking people on the show, everybody from David Icke to Michael Cesarian to Jordan Maxwell to literally everybody we've had on the show. Have you noticed any weird timeline anomalies or any weird geographical locations popping up where they weren't before? Some people said yes, some people said no. Then a few years later, the Mandela effect was coined, and then it became something that people started documenting and talking about. But I remember a friend of mine came over, and his wife was a travel agent, and there was this Denny's right down the street from our house when we were living up in Colorado, and there were a bunch of hotels that popped up almost overnight. Mm-hmm. And my friend's wife was looking for a hotel for him, and I said, dude, just come over here and stay here. And he said, I can't find any hotels around your house. And I said, dude, there's a bunch of hotels that just literally popped up overnight. So we go and we sit down at Denny's, and as we're sitting down, we're talking to the waitress, and we ask her, because she's worked there for a long time, how long have those hotels been there? And she said, I don't know, they just seem to just pop up overnight. So we got some independent confirmation. Now, this was way back in like 2013. So this was a long time ago. So this Mandela effect journey has been one that we've been on for a long, long, long time.
Really long time.
Many shows about. But to see mainstream science picking up on it and mainstream articles about it, I think it just goes to show. And not only that, but they're also tying CERN into all of this. So we're going to get into all of that here in just a few moments. So let's get into it.
The sky so far away tonight, but I can't lose this one. Get a brighter the falling night. Thought that I was fit to fight for us to be. You gave me life for loving me. Tell me, where did we go so wrong?
Raw consciousness does not require a savior, but rather, raw consciousness requires only knowledge of oneself and the power to access it. Remember this, as we unlock an even greater gnosis from beyond the veil.
From the fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be across the nation, around the world. I'm Chris Geo. I will be taking you beyond the veil this evening. I'm joined, of course, by my lovely wife and twin flame, Mrs. Geo.
Good evening, everyone.
And we have a fantastic show for you. We're going to do, we're going to cover the Mandela effect. I want to apologize to our Patreons, too. We did a show last Friday, and I have had the just nothing but trouble uploading the show. I had to render it in Sony Vegas, and it came out like 35 gigabytes, and and we have a 20 gigabyte upload limit on our
Right.
Patreon server, so we couldn't even upload it. So I had to upload it, recompress it, decompress it, recompress it again, go through all kinds of stuff like that. I finally got it ready, and it is being uploaded. As a matter of fact, it should be almost done. It's 73% optimized. So we'll have that show ready for you guys over on patreon.com/BTV Tribe. That's a Patreon exclusive show. It's 6 hours. We went into the theory that about 500 years doesn't exist. We went into the Hyksos-pharaohs. We went into several other historical things. We got into some BTV Tribe type stuff as well in the Patreon section. We got into some videos that we've never, ever, ever shown from Egypt. Just personal conversations that we were having with each
Unreleased
other.
footage, yeah.
Unreleased footage. Our thoughts right there on the spot, May 2018, when we were there to reset the Matrix. And I thought that was really cool. The people who were watching live loved it, but yeah, we finally got that situated. So big apologies to our Patreons for that.
Yeah, you guys.
Thank you very much for your patience. We've been slammed with a million different things. But tonight, we're going to try to keep this short. We're going to try to keep it sweet. That is the famous last words before a 3-hour show. But Mandela effect. So as I was saying, I was watching The Untouchables, and I think it's a cheesy movie. Kevin Costner movies usually are kind of cheesy. Not one of my favorite. I like the movie Gotti that came out on HBO in like 1996. That is, in my opinion, the best mafia movie that there is. Of course, Goodfellas, Casino, things like that. And being here in Las Vegas, we get to go around and see some of these sites. And we were going to take a tour with Tommy Spolito's Hitman, and here in Las Vegas, he just passed away right
Yep.
before 2020. So we just barely missed him. I talked to his son, and he did like tours. So he had immunity, and so he'd take us to all the different sites and show us where the murders happened in Las Vegas and everything like that, and riding around with the Hitman. We didn't get to do that.
Didn't happen, yeah.
But still, Las Vegas is just an amazing place, and there's so much history here. But Al Capone was based around Chicago, of course. Now, the big thing for me is, how do you guys and gals remember Al Capone dying out there? I remember him dying. I know he got syphilis, and he lost his mind towards the end, but he got sentenced to 30 years, and he died in prison. That's what I remember. And in the movie, The Untouchables, and this is what kind of led to this, is I specifically remember a scene with Kevin Costner going up to Robert De Niro, who's playing Al Capone, and saying, "We're going to get you," and Al Capone saying, "You got nothing on me. You can't connect me to this. You can't connect me to that. You got nothing on me." And he says, "Oh yeah? Tax evasion." And it was a very monumental scene because it was at that point that Robert De Niro just kind of like looked at him kind of like stupid, but kind of confused. And I remember that scene like it was yesterday. I watched the entire movie. Now, I was up and down, running outside, coming back in, I wasn't watching it, frame by frame. But we look up that scene, Cherie and I just now look up that scene where they confront him in front of the staircase, and he says nothing about tax evasion charges or anything like that at all. And as a matter of fact, the movie opens up with one guy coming into Elliot Ness's office, and he starts saying, I think we can get Capone on tax evasion. And they're kind of like making a joke about it, and Elliot Ness is like, yeah, we're going to get him on tax evasion, whatever. I remember that plot line not showing up until later on in the movie, and that was kind of my idea when they couldn't catch him on anything else. As it turns out, Al Capone was sentenced to 11 years, got out of prison early, moved to West Palms, Florida, or somewhere in Florida, died of old age in Florida.
Yep.
I specifically
He was allowed
remember
to
him dying in
retire.
Alcatraz.
Yeah.
So next thing that's I'm expecting here is my great uncle Paul Castellano to have been murdered by somebody besides John Gotti now. This is how strange these Mandela effects are starting to become now. I mean, it's ridiculous. I was watching another movie called Collateral. And I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's got Tom Cruise and Jamie Foxx in it. You were asleep while I was watching this movie. But it's a spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the movie, spoiler alert. But it's about a hitman that gets in the back of a taxi cab. I haven't seen this movie in about 15 years. It was a long time. I was just watching some old movies, and I was watching Mobsters with Christian Slater, a few other movies like that. So this happened to pop up, and I said, okay, let's check out Collateral again. And so I'm watching the movie, and I specifically remember the plot line. And I remember he starts driving around this hitman, and they go around and they do these hits. And it wasn't until like the fourth or fifth person on the list that Jamie Foxx realizes that the guy's a hitman. And the ending sequence was Tom Cruise telling Jamie Foxx, well, I can't let you go. You've already seen my face, etc. And the ending sequence was them going at it and Jamie Foxx trying to get away from Tom Cruise. I watched the movie and it was like watching a completely different movie. Either I'm remembering it completely different or something's changed. Now, with the movie Collateral, I can't say it's a Mandela effect. You guys and gals, let me know if you've seen that movie, if you remember the plot line. But at the very beginning of the movie, he picks up a DA and this really pretty DA lady. And the last person on the hit list of this hitman is that lady that he picked up earlier in the movie, who gave him her phone number. So the movie ends by them chasing each other around and him trying to save this DA, this district attorney, instead of the big reveal at the end when he's, about to take him to the airport and saying, I can't let you go because you've seen my face. And then Jamie Foxx realizes he's not going to get out of the situation. And that's when the drama starts. Does anybody else remember it that way? Or is it just me? I don't know, but I'm watching all these different movies and I'm like, things are changing and they're changing rapidly and with big changes now. We're not talking about small little changes like, Luke, I am your father, and no, I am your father. Or, life was like a box of chocolates, or life is like a box of chocolates. We're talking about major, major, major changes now. And especially like Al Capone's death. He was sentenced to 30 years and died in prison. He wasn't sentenced to 11 years and then got out early, but he did die of syphilis. I do remember that. And I do remember that fact.
Yeah.
So you guys and gals, let me know in the chat. Let me know in the comments what you think about that situation. What do you think?
I think that it's insane to me that every single news article that I'm reading here says this is false memory syndrome, collective memory, psychosis, things like that, when it's really not. It would be the other way around, I would think, where when they were doing these tests, if they showed people the picture of, quote, the correct picture, they did a study. So I'll just go into this real quick. They did a study on Mandela effect recently, and they came to the conclusion that Mandela effect is 100% real. They do not claim that it's not real or that people aren't remembering things differently than what reality seems to be now. However, I don't think that because they were showing people the correct one first, and then they were showing them a series of incorrect ones, some of them totally incorrect, and then others were...
Do me a favor. Let me put that on the screen.
Okay.
While you're going over it.
Yeah.
So go ahead and drop me that link.
I already did.
No, I know you already
okay.
did, but drop me that link right now.
Okay.
So I can just click on it immediately.
Okay.
Instead of having to go look for it. Sorry, I didn't mean to break up the flow, but I like to give the audience a visual if possible. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So let me get it up on my screen here. And let's go from here.
Okay.
Okay.
So a study has found the Mandela effect is real, and it's incredibly difficult to explain. Just to keep a long story short, they basically showed people the correct photo first. Then they showed people a series of incorrect photos, some of them totally incorrect, others were incorrect based upon Mandela effects. Guess what? People remembered, instead of remembering the correct photograph, people collectively, like more than half of them, would pick the one that was labeled as the Mandela effect. In almost every single thing, it was like 7 out of 7. Where every single person that they came across remembered Curious George with a tail, and they remembered the Monopoly Man with a monocle. They remembered the cornucopia in the Fruit of the Loom logo. They remembered all these completely differently than what they just showed them was the correct image.
Oh, right. So just to reiterate, they would show them the correct image, then they would show them this one, the one that they remember, and they would insist the one they remember is the accurate one. Like Fruit of the Looms right here, for example. I remember the cornucopia. I remember it very clearly. This does not look right to me at all.
Yeah.
And if you showed me these two, I would tell you, oh no, this is the logo.
Right.
And there is no history of Fruit of the Loom changing the logo. So it's not like they used to have this logo then changed
Right.
it. They've changed
It's
the
not
logo many
changed.
times throughout the years, but they've never had that cornucopia there.
Right.
But when people were shown this in this scientific study, like they're taking it so seriously that they're studying it
University
scientifically
of Chicago.
for
yeah.
what it's worth these days. I mean, after 2020, trust the science, they really did a disservice to science. But I think there are still some real scientists out there still conducting genuine experiments and investigations, and this happens to be one of them.
It is fascinating and amusing, as somebody pointed out on this Twitter page that's embedded into the article, because it's collective. It's not something that just one or two people are noticing. This is something millions and millions and millions of people are noticing. You can't say that that's a collective memory problem. You cannot claim that. It's too outside of possibility. Scientifically, if you look at it as a possibility factor, it's almost impossible for all 7 of these to come out the correct Mandela effect.
Yeah, the people they were testing, it wasn't just one. It wasn't just like Fruit of the Looms. It was like every single one. The people they were testing.
Curious George.
Yeah, C-3PO having no silver leg. And that was one that you and I noticed like right off the bat, because we went to go see The Force Awakens.
That's right.
And you haven't seen any Star Wars movies at that point, so we watched all the movies first and watched The Force Awakens, and I noticed it right at the beginning. I'm like, when the hell did C-3PO have a silver leg? And apparently he's had a silver leg the entire time. The actor, it says no, the leg was always silver. The cameraman, on the other hand, came out on Twitter and said, no, he's never had a silver leg. I would have adjusted my lights accordingly when taking those pictures. So the actor remembers it with the silver leg, but the cameraman does not. So there's a discrepancy there.
Right.
Huge discrepancy.
Right.
Now, if
exactly.
you're photographing something, especially for a living, and you do these pieces like this for these huge publications, you're going to remember this, especially with something as epic as Star Wars.
Right. So it feels really validating to me, though, that scientists and scientific, publications are actually studying this now, and they're actually doing some pretty good work, because obviously, yes, a Mandela effect is 100% real. What is it caused by? That's the problem that we run into. That's the issue at hand here, is what is causing this malremembrance.
Well, now, don't they mention CERN?
Yeah, and some of them mention CERN.
The study was actually looking at CERN as the cause of this.
Right.
And they were weighing out, because people believed that it was CERN being activated that was causing these timeline shifts. And then they were weighing out also false memories. Now, the interesting thing about the Mandela effect, if you don't mind me chiming in real quick.
That's the Vice magazine article.
If you focus long enough on the current iteration of whatever Mandela effect is, at least for me, my memory will start to change. And it's very weird, but I remember when we first started talking about this in 2014, there was something to it, and I was like, it's very important to remember the actual memories. It's very important to hold on to those. For some reason, I don't know why, but it's almost like, at one point, I remember describing it like downloads that NPCs were getting. So we shift timelines. The Matrix starts uploading information, downloading it to people are downloading the information. Some of the memory changes don't take in the human brain, and a lot of people are rejecting those downloads, and a lot of people are refusing to take those downloads. And so it was like a system error where they tried to overlay the memories, and then some people it didn't stick. Or we've crossed over from another dimension into another dimension where some people really believe that it was one way and others believe that it was another way. Any way it goes, it's very strange how when you focus on these, they'll actually change in your mind. almost like there's a program there waiting to be executed. The human computer is rejecting it, but if you allow it, it will execute and it will start to override that memory. Have you experienced that too, or is that just something that I'm experiencing?
No. I do not let go of Berenstein being spelled with an EI. I do not let go of that because I feel like the more you allow the new downloads to kind of take over and rewrite your memory, so to speak, the more you allow that to happen, the more it's almost like the more the machine is in control of what you're seeing in your reality. And when you hold on to these memories and it's almost like you have one toe in another dimension and the rest of your body here. And then you have two toes in two other dimensions and then your rest of your body here, and so on and so forth. And if I really believe that if we hold on to these memories, we have a better chance of not kind of falling for the traps that the virus tries to set for us.
That's true.
So to speak.
That's true. I mean, for me,
have
we
more
did
control of our
that
consciousness.
top 5 Mandela effect video years ago.
Years and years ago.
And we dug into the Berenstein Bears. We found Jonathan Reichman, the trademark attorney. On his website, he spelled it Berenstein. After so many people writing him, he changed it to Berenstain. We went to the Wayback Machine, 80scartoons.net, showed it as Berenstein up until about 2003. Now, was the Hadron Collider fired up in 2003? I'm not sure. I don't know exactly when the first time it was fired up.
It was actually.
But all of a sudden it changes to Berenstain, but the URL itself stayed Berenstein. Now, after Jonathan Reichman updated his website, he still had publications that he had made about trademark, because he's a trademark attorney. And we found the PDFs and we show them in the video that it shows Berenstein in the PDF books that he wrote. Now, this is a guy who gets paid by the letter of the law. No pun intended. But he would know for sure the real spelling of it. So that was huge for me. That was a big, and then the mirror. I remember that way back in I want to say 2000, 2001, I went to Disney World and I was watching Fantasmic. And I remember during the Fantasmic, it said magic mirror on the wall, who's the greatest of them all. And I thought that they changed it just for Fantasmic. I didn't think that they actually changed it in the movie. And this was way before any ideas of Mandela effect or anything like that. But I specifically remember when they did this big water projection, like they do water, then they project on the water. It looks really cool. But the witch comes up and says, magic mirror on the wall. And I was like, why'd they change it for the show? And that thought was just in the back of my mind for many, many, many years. And then sure enough, it's changed in the movie too.
Well, actually, the Large Hadron Collider wasn't finished until 2008, it looks like.
Okay.
However, in 2003, they were receiving components of it. And so they could have been doing early experiments, or alternatively, there's the world's largest super collider was supposed to have been built under Texas, actually. And that one has been going, if it continued, and the work still continued, even though they told the public it wasn't, and they still opened it, even though they told the public they wouldn't. If they did open this, it's been in existence for 20 years now.
Well, as Nick Bravo said, what's up, Nick? He said, these changes are retroactive. So that's very true.
Right.
Very,
They're
very true.
retroactive
and
changes.
it's funny because tonight, as we were just talking, we were just hanging out, having fun, watching different YouTube videos and stuff like that. I looked at Cherie and I said, you know what? I bet you we're going to start seeing dinosaurs. And as crazy as that sounds, I don't know why, I got this strange feeling like we're going to start seeing videos of dinosaurs being discovered. And sure enough, I look on YouTube and I see some old videos of dinosaurs, a pterodactyl flying through the sky in China, supposedly filmed by the military. Now, we know that China was into genetic engineering and stuff like that. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Jurassic Park was based on some kind of real event that the Chinese government's been doing. So they accidentally let a pterodactyl go loose after genetically modifying it and bringing it back. That's a possibility. Or what if this thing is opening portals and every once in a while something slips through? And that's why we get these dinosaur sightings and all these weird sightings and sightings of things from the past. There was a fish that popped up on the sea 30 feet long. It's a big prehistoric fish. There was a video of a woolly mammoth in Siberia.
Yeah,
and it's just like this weird instinct that I got, this intuition, like, look up dinosaurs. And I started looking them up, and I started seeing these videos.
recently.
Now, they could be fake. And anytime I see something on YouTube, I'm like, okay, it's fake. Until I can prove it's real.
Right.
You got to keep that in mind, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I send you a link for Vice. Is CERN causing collective mass delusion?
Well, before you get into that, did you get into the rest of this? Or did you get as much as you wanted to?
I think I got as much as I wanted to.
Because this was a great article.
Because this is a follow-up to that one.
Okay.
Because they're saying, the Mandela effect is real, but no one knows what causes it. CERN would like you to know it's not their particle collider. The opening line is CERN would like you to know it's not their particle collider. It's not our particle collider that's doing this.
These freaking guys.
So it's another particle collider that's doing this.
Okay, so this is Vice, what I got on my screen. And sure enough, right on the front cover, on the front page of this article, is CERN causing collective mass delusion by creating portals to an alternate dimension and investigation. First thing they show in CERN.
Cynthia Sue Larson has been on the lookout since July 5th when CERN turned the world's most powerful particle collider back on for a third time. Larson is looking for, quote, reality shifts and Mandela effects, unquote, or evidence of multiple universes, timelines, rips in the space-time continuum, or other evidence that reality as we know it has been distorted by the Large Hadron Collider. I've been paying attention to see whether reports of Mandela effects might increase now that CERN's Large Hadron Collider fired back up again. She told Motherboard, so far I've not yet noticed large-scale reports of new Mandela effects in the past day or so, though it does seem there's a large and growing interest in the Mandela effect. CERN has also noticed. I've seen a lot of videos go viral making claims about CERN, and when I see that it tells me we need to communicate even further because they're getting informed by conspiracy theories they hear. Clara Nellist, a particle physicist who works on CERN's Atlas, a Large Hadron Collider experiment seeking to learn more about the basic building blocks of matter, the fundamental forces of nature, and what dark matter is made of, told Motherboard.
Oh, you know what? Okay, so there's a couple of other weird things that we've been finding lately as far as history goes. What was it? It was in 210 BC.
The first vending machine.
The first vending machine.
The first vending machine was in 215 BC.
Okay, we're watching Pawn Stars. Again, just flipping through YouTube. Yeah, watching Pawn Stars. Somebody sells this old vending machine, and it's an old Pepsi machine painted red, so it was like special or something like that.
Yeah.
At the bottom, it says the first vending machine was made in 210 BC.
210 BC, that's right.
To dispense holy water. Mm-hmm. When the hell did we have vending machines before Christ?
And I thought, we didn't have holy water either until the Catholic Church.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
What the heck is going on here? When did we start baptizing people way before Christ even came, or even John the Baptist, for that matter? That's why he's called John the Baptist, because he used holy water to baptize. Anyway, it's ridiculous, and it doesn't even make sense if you're looking at it from that perspective.
Okay, and then what else did we find?
And then another thing... Cameras?
Came out in like the mid-1800s?
Oh, the mid-1800s
or was it 1700s?
Now. Or like it was the late 1700s, I think.
Okay, yeah, it was one or the other. But we were looking at all this technology, and they're like, oh yeah, they had this technology, here in this time, and we're like, the phonograph.
Yeah, the phonograph
came out in like the 1800s too.
Now, yeah, no, that wasn't the case. I thought it was one of those blooper types of things in Penny Dreadful whenever they're playing the phonograph, because it's only 1892, and I was like, the phonograph didn't come out until like 1910, 1912, something around there, and then suddenly it's coming out in the late 1800s, and so I'm like, whoa. That one really threw me for a loop, because I knew that the phonograph was invented in like 1910 or 1911, maybe 1912.
I mean, it's possible we're confusing it with the television, which was September 7th, 1927.
That's also earlier than I remember it.
That was created actually prior to that by a guy named, I want to say Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra or something like that. Mm-hmm. And it was meant to communicate with the other side, with other
John Logie Baird.
John Logie Baird, that's it. John Logie Baird. white noise was supposed to be an interdimensional contact kind of thing. They have a movie called White Noise with Michael Keaton.
That's right.
And he talks to people through the TV, and Poltergeist, of course, going into the TV, you know, all of that. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're just confusing it with the television, but I know one thing for sure. Vending machines should not be around in 210 BC.
And they certainly shouldn't be dispensing holy water. No.
No.
Unless phantom time theory is correct.
The oldest known automated vending machine is believed to have been invented by ancient Egypt around 200 BC. The machine was housed in the Temple of Alexandria and employed a system of levers to dispense holy water to worshippers. After, of course, they fed it a drachma coin.
So real holy water.
What the hell?
Yeah, the real holy
BC?
water. Yeah, that is crazy.
You know, what's
though.
next? Are they going to start saying, well, the ancient Egyptians had electricity?
Yeah, they're
and
running water.
Running water.
You know, everything.
All that stuff. Yeah.
I think so. I think we're actually going to start to see ancient times resembling modern times more and more and more. I don't know if it's the tesseract of reality folding in on itself and BC and CE just kind of like folding up together and becoming one. I don't know. I don't know what the hell's
You
going on.
took the words out of my mouth. I was just about to say that. Everything is merging, and since the Matrix is shutting down, everything is now becoming one.
Yeah, and folding in on itself
Osset,
over and over.
which we haven't had on in a long time.
We need to have her back on.
Yeah, we do. We lost contact with her. We need to give her a call sometime. She was saying that there's some kind of time loop. Was it her or was it Emily Moyer? One or the other. There was a time loop between AD and
I think it was
BC,
Emily Moyer, actually.
and it's kind of like, I think it was Emily. Yeah, one or the other. Somebody
have them back on.
Somebody on the show.
Both back on.
The point is that we didn't come up with this hypothesis. We like to give credit where credit is due.
Right.
But everything is kind of circular. And I think it was Emily that said the pyramids and all these other technologies, they're actually meant for the future, not for the past. And they were built in the future. But we're seeing remnants of them now. And as we move towards the future, because everything is kind of looping around on itself, at one point they'll become active. And they did become active May of 2018.
Right.
And they physically did. Like, this isn't just, some theory.
Or spirituality.
Scientists were looking at the pyramid in June and July of 2018 because it started to heat up. And Clyde Lewis had us on in August of 2018 to talk about the pyramids heating up and activating. So something happened in the summer of 2018.
Something happened. And something turned that thing on when we went in there to do the rituals. Not at first, not until we got the first two chambers, the first two antechambers done, and then it kicked on. That's the only way to describe what happened in there.
In that Patreon exclusive video, we have that video too, where we're sitting at the Queen's Chamber entrance, and all of a sudden you hear this noise, this wind going through the pyramid. And I was thinking, oh, that's strange. But
like
then
a
it
hum.
hit me, and I'm like, wait a second, we're in the pyramid. There's not supposed to be any noises in here at all. You know what was interesting though? The lights went out on us.
Yeah, that was
for
creepy.
about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And we're sitting, I think we were on the Grand Gallery going upwards, and all the lights turned off.
Just turned off at once.
And I have never been in such darkness
same here.
Being in the pyramid with the lights out completely. And Cherie was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? I was like, we're going to get our flashlights.
We're going to get our flashlights out. We're going to go up.
We had headband flashlights. We had flashlights,
We were
But luckily they just
rocking it.
they came back on in like 20
Yeah,
seconds.
it was no big deal.
Yeah. But there was definitely an energetic shock.
Oh, it was a
that
shift.
took out all the electronics inside of the pyramid and then turned them back on.
Yeah,
I wish we would have caught it on
backup
camera. That would have
back.
been so cool.
Yeah, that would. Yeah, I wish we had been recording at that exact moment.
Yeah.
Let's see.
So we were talking about the CERN article here. With the Vice article with
Okay,
CERN.
so I've been paying attention. Okay, CERN has noticed.
I've seen a lot of videos go viral making claims about CERN.
Okay. And when I see that it tells me we need to communicate even further because they're getting informed by the conspiracy theories they hear. Clara Nellist, a particle physicist who works on CERN's ATLAS, a Large Hadron Collider experiment seeking to learn more about the basic building blocks of matter, the fundamental forces of nature, and what dark matter is made of, told Motherboard. Nellist posts on TikTok as Particle Clara about the Large Hadron Collider and sometimes about CERN conspiracy theories. A recent stitch of hers plays out like this. I don't know if you want to play it or not. We might get
if this is a video that's relevant, I can't tell if this is an ad or not.
No, it's a
Okay.
relevant video.
Since when did double stuffed Oreo?
Look, bro, just because you misremembered something does not mean that CERN is going around changing your Oreos. There are much higher energy particle collisions happening in our atmosphere all the time. And so what CERN is doing is tiny in comparison. I can promise you we are not going around changing the labels on your food.
You know,
We never said they were.
I'm glad that we played that because I don't think anybody who is thinking about the Mandela effect is minimizing it down to the labels changing.
Right.
Or minimizing it down to the logos changing.
No.
Something major was changed. And as a result, we see the remnants of whatever was changed. We don't
Reflections
know
of
what the
small
major
changes, yeah.
event was changed. Now, it could be a timeline jump, or it could be time travel, where they go back and they change something, and as a result, everything changes, small little details. And we're missing the big picture. Let's say it's time travel, and we go back and do something. Let's say we invent a vending machine in 2010. I mean, in
210 BCE.
In 210 BC, you know, because for some reason we needed vending machines back then. So we come back here to the future, and then now things have changed. And now it's, instead of double stuffed, it's double stuff. And it doesn't have anything to do with what CERN is doing.
Right.
But it's just like a butterfly effect kind of thing from whatever was actually changed.
Right.
So I just
Right.
want to clear that up. That's the importance of the Mandela effect, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've heard very few people link it to CERN, but I have heard a lot of people link it to time travel. I've heard people link it to us jumping timelines using things like entheogens and psychedelics. But I've rarely ever heard of CERN being involved with it until the last few years. However, it is intriguing that even when CERN was first getting turned on, I remember the horror stories that were going around the internet at the time of what could happen due to some kind of destabilization of. It's basically they're recreating the Big Bang, and if they recreate the Big Bang, and they're creating particles they've never created before, how do they know for a fact and for certain that it's not going to have any resonating effects on our reality or on anything that we're doing here, or even on the basic building blocks of life, like they were talking about? What if we suddenly just don't have oxygen, or we suddenly don't have, certain particles in our atmosphere that we actually need because they've all been basically turned off by something expanding beyond where it should because of CERN exploding or something like that.
Do you remember, was it Jack Parsons? Somebody said, "I've become the destroyer of worlds."
Oh, that was
when they set off the atomic bomb.
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer. That's it.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Now I become death, the destroyer of worlds. Okay.
Yeah.
They thought they were going to burn the atmosphere up and annihilate all of humanity. But they were willing to do it anyways. And they did. But that was something that they considered as a possibility.
They
And
thought
were
the
like,
atmosphere might light on
well,
fire.
if mankind is extinguished or extinct, so what?
Yeah, so be it.
So be it. Yeah, yeah. So they have the mentality that they
Very
really don't
flippant.
care. And as a matter of fact, something new that popped up in this timeline is the Human Extinction Project.
Voluntary human extinction movement.
Voluntary Human Extinction Movement.
Let
I'm
me
going to
send
pull
you
that
the-
on.
yeah.
Send me the link, please.
Yeah.
Because I think this is something you guys and gals would be interested in.
Because I've never seen this before up until the last few weeks. Never. In the entire time that I've been researching eugenics and things like that, I've never seen this organization before. The Voluntary Human Extinction Movement, VHEMT, is an environmental movement that calls for all people to abstain from reproduction in order to cause the gradual voluntary extinction of humankind. Vehement supports human extinction primarily because, in the group's view, it would prevent environmental degradation. The group states that a decrease in the human population would prevent a significant amount of human-caused suffering. The extinctions of non-human species and the scarcity of resources caused by humans are frequently cited by the group as evidence of the harm caused by human overpopulation. It was started in 1991.
Yeah, and it's an NGO.
It's
Has
an
anybody ever heard of
NGO.
this? Because we've been
Dedicated to
studying
human
depopulation,
extinction.
we've been studying genetics, we've been studying
I've never seen this.
population control, all of that, and I have never heard of the voluntary human extinction movement before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've never heard of this. The voluntary human extinction movement was founded by Les U. Knight, a graduate of Western Oregon University. Maybe he died in the old timeline.
Well, Nick
Before he had
Bravo
a
says
chance
he's
to do
heard of
this.
it before. So
I've a graduate of Western Oregon University and a high school substitute teacher living in Portland, Oregon. After becoming involved in the environmental movement as a college student in the 1970s, he attributed most of the dangers faced by the planet to human overpopulation. He joined the Zero Population Growth Organization and chose to be vasectomized at age 25.
yeah, that's a little bit
That's
too
extreme.
Extreme.
That's
for
really
me.
extreme.
You know, I, as I talked about in the Georgia Guidestone video, I understand that we have a problem with too many people. And it's not, like I said, how many people you can fit on a landmass, but it's how many resources are being used. We have water crisis here in Las Vegas, California, all of that. They have water crisis all over the place, food supply shortages, so on and so forth. Could it be mismanagement? Yes, definitely. But I think we went over the numbers and there was 200 million chickens every 6 weeks or something like that. I don't remember the number off the top of my head, but it calls for factory farming and it calls for GMO crops and, all that kind of stuff to sustain the amount of people that are on planet Earth right now. So there is a problem there, but I've never heard of a human extinction.
No, not a human extinction project. No, I've heard of the human. I've heard of the human potential movement. I've heard of all of these. Project Drawdown is another one that's really big right now, and Project Drawdown is a nonprofit organization that seeks to help the world reach drawdown, quote unquote, the future point in time when levels of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere stop climbing and start to steadily decline. The only way, because we've had high carbon emissions when the dinosaurs were here, that was creating high carbon emissions as well.
That actually allowed plants to get bigger.
Right. That allowed plants to grow.
And it allowed the dinosaurs to get bigger.
Yeah, and to thrive.
If you believe the dinosaur theory.
Right.
There's some people that don't.
And the only way to get that to start declining, as Bill Gates pointed out in that video, is to get the population to zero, or the population growth at least to zero. As of 2018, did you know this? In 2018, for the first time in human history, we had a negative population growth rate. In 2018, 2019, in 2020 and 2021, I apologize. 2020 and 2021, negative population growth rate across the board.
Yeah.
That's the only way to do that.
I agree with the solutions people are offering in the chat. Local farming communities, things like that. No, I'm totally for that. The Venus Project had a great solution with horizontal hydroponic gardening in every city to take care of the crops for that particular city. That's a great idea. I think we should move in that direction, no doubt about it. But at the same time, I don't like all the traffic. Okay, I'll just be blunt with you. I don't like all the traffic.
People are cramped into small cities, and I don't think the population's organized correctly.
I don't like to sit in traffic. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like we're.
I'm joking.
Well, we're in a simulation
Kind of.
where the resources are not doled out properly. They're being wasted in a lot of places, and then they're desperately needed in other places. I remember that picture of the little boy in Africa who's hunched over, and it's like a 3-year-old that's literally starving to death, and there's a vulture about 20 meters behind him, and just waiting for him to die, basically. And it's a really interesting story about that picture, actually, but it really goes to speak to how messed up the resource gathering and collection and then distribution is in this world. Because I've thrown away food before. I know you have too. Everyone in the United States has thrown away food at one point or another. This person right here will never throw away food, ever. There will never be an instance where he will put food in the trash can and not eat it.
That is true. And I do have to say, I have to agree with the chat room. You know, it is misallocation, because Gaddafi was really big on that. And when they murdered Gaddafi, I started watching a lot of his speeches. And his big thing was, why are they coming over here to Africa to take all of our resources, then selling them back to us? You know, we're selling all of our resources to Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola and all these. He used these specific corporations, and he said we should be producing all of this. We should be selling it to the world, not the other way around. But at the same time, we were looking at this guy. I don't remember his name. He wrote a book about mushrooms and how religion was based on mushrooms. Allegro, I think. John Allegro,
something like
maybe
that.
The name is familiar. Yeah. But anyways, as we were doing some research on him, we found some CFR documents, and in those CFR documents, he was mentioned. But what was also mentioned is that they could never allow Africa to unite. They can never allow an African Union, because if they did, they would take over the world because of the amount of resources they have. We've been stripping all their resources, and this is the result of that. So I agree with everybody in the chat. I do. I see the problem.
We are having the same kind of thing happen here in the Las Vegas area with Lake Mead drying up. I think, and this is a new theory I've never even shared with you before, but I just thought about this in the last few days. Why is it drying up so fast? And why is it in conjunction with China coming in and buying up so much land? I'm wondering if maybe they're using a lot of our water.
That is a great point. China has been buying up massive amounts of land.
Land, water resources, electricity.
Pelosi is going out to go meet with Taiwan. China has made a very clear message. There will be repercussions for you going out there to meet with Taiwan. At the same time, Biden is going to make a phone call and talk to, what's his name, Xi Jinping. Yeah. So there's something brewing there. There's definitely something brewing, and it feels very radioactive. And, you know, we know what came out of Wuhan. I'm not going to say it because we're on YouTube, but I think that was a test run to see, you know, what would happen. And they have the real deal, and they might release the real deal, or they might do something nuclear, or two allies working together, U.S. and China, acting as enemies, false flag. Why? To bring in an agenda here in the United States.
That's right.
Take more control of the land here. I mean, when you really think about it, we're the last country standing that's fully armed, where people are fully armed.
Right.
And so I could see them working together, creating an enemy where there's no enemy, where they're actually allies. We saw this with the Bushes and the Bin Ladens. It's not anything new. And I could see something like that happening in the very near future.
Right.
I'm not saying it's going to. I'm just saying that it looks like the chess pieces are set up on the board for something huge to happen here pretty soon.
Right.
It's getting concerning.
Well, remember New York just had that public announcement about nuclear strikes and how to survive nuclear strikes and stuff like that. And they said not if, but when in New York. That's crazy. Yeah, Nick, you're right. I remember seeing that a few weeks ago. And when we're seeing all this happen within weeks of each other, and we're also in conjunction with this, having dreams before we see this kind of stuff. We're having dreams about nuclear holocaust. We're having dreams about being in some kind of like makeshift tent type of structure that's, you know, built on a theme park that's all crumpled up and worn down, and all the rides are closed and everything because there's been this, you know, massive holocaust of nuclear explosions going off all over the place. And it's not just one, it's like multiple. And so it makes me wonder if it's a real thing, like that video that I saw one time of all the nukes going off at once.
There was
an
artist, and he did a bunch of pictures of like Disney, like post-apocalypse and, you know, things like that. It was actually a really cool art piece that he did, but I'm I'm trying to pull up some of the photos here, but Google's changed so much, and you used to be able to pull up photos with no problem. Now they're all tiny little things. But yeah, anyways, I won't go into that. I do want to play this commercial here real quick for the New York City emergency in case you haven't seen it. And if you don't mind, Mrs. Gio, while I'm playing this, can you turn the AC on?
Absolutely.
Okay. So check this out. It's only a minute long.
So there's been a nuclear attack. Don't ask me how or why, just know that the big one has hit, okay? So what do? There are 3 important steps that I want you to remember. Step 1, get inside fast. You, your friends, your family, get inside. And no, staying in the car is not an option. You need to get into a building and move away from the windows. Step 2, stay inside. Shut all doors and windows. Have a basement? Head there. If you don't have one, get as far into the middle of the building as possible. If you were outside after the blast, get clean immediately. Remove and bag all outer clothing to keep radioactive dust or ash away from your body. Step 3, stay tuned. Follow media for more information. Don't forget to sign up for Notify NYC for official alerts and updates. And don't go outside until officials say it's safe. All right, you've got this.
Can you believe this? This is their advice. Get inside. During a nuclear blast, get inside. Now, as I've stated before in previous broadcasts, and I have for many, many, many years, there was a rumor circulating, and it's been circulating ever since we started broadcasting way back in 2009. And it's an October surprise. And I've heard this so many times that I just kind of got numb to the whole idea. And I just, never really paid mind to it. But every October, they would say that suitcase nukes are going to be detonated in 5 different cities: Dallas, Washington, D.C., several others like that.
That's right.
Now, they also did a series of pandemics, which was Ebola, H1N1, bird flu, piggy flu, dog flu, literally everything. And those were all false alarms too. And when 2020 came around, I was like, nah, then this is going to happen. We've lived through a dozen of these before. Nothing happened. And it was go time. So this story that's been repeating around about suitcase nukes being detonated, it seems kind of ripe for that to happen. Now, a suitcase nuke is different than a large nuke. A suitcase nuke will take out about 5 blocks.
Yeah, that's it.
Or 5 blocks or 5 miles, one or the other. But this kind of advice that they're giving here, stay inside, change your clothes, do stuff like that, that sounds more like a suitcase nuke type of thing. That it's a small blast radius, people around are dealing with the fallout, and stay inside and all of this, rather than a big Nagasaki, Hiroshima type of event. But something like that being detonated right now, when the president is a bumbling idiot, and last time we had a bumbling idiot for president, we had 9/11. So it's really easy. You put a moron in there, then blame it on him. But everybody's throwing Biden under the bus right now, even mainstream media, CNN, all of them. They're throwing Harris under the bus too. I have a feeling like they're going to try to impeach Harris and Biden, and Pelosi's going to try to take office. And if that happens, oh my God, we're in a lot of trouble. Not that the presidency is anything but a puppet show. But my point being that maybe those rumors that have been circulating over and over and over again have been doing so for the same reason why we've had so many pandemic scares. So people like us who have been saying, hey, our first show, November 5th, 2009, we played a portion of it, and it was like we were talking about 2020. It was everything. You were like so on point during that show. We should probably release that. I'll put that on our
release
Patreon.
it and put it on Patreon.
It sounds very amateur. We haven't found our voice. We didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
We did it on Blog Talk Radio. We did it on the phones too. And we realized last minute that me being on a phone and Cherie being on a phone, there was a delay. So she had to go in the other room to talk. And then we finally got the microphone set up. We finally got all of that. But the information we were going over was actually very similar to what happened in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to rethink
so
this
similar.
suitcase nuke theory that has been circulating around, and October surprise.
Right, right.
Again, I'm not saying anything's going to happen, but I feel like something might.
Yeah. Somebody literally just said in the chat, I feel like something's going to happen in the next 3 months. What do you guys think? That's exactly what we're talking about right now, Patrice. We're talking about the feeling that we're all getting of something building up and something being planned, that it's disconcerting. And tonight I kissed my twin and I wanted to just be with him and all of you
what?
guys.
I felt that too. Like, are you guys think I was feeling this? This was happening to me for a while, then it stopped. And then it just started happening again. About 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, I'll start to get this sense of dread. Like something is going to happen. And I'm just like panicking. Like somebody's going to break into our house, or, something like that is about to happen. And nothing's ever happened. But I get this feeling about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And last time this happened, this was around 2012 to 2013, because we were living in Colorado at the time. When we moved out to Washington, I didn't get those feelings. And we were out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah,
like
we were
literally in the middle
literally
of nowhere.
nowhere.
But it just started just a couple days ago. And 2 o'clock in the morning, we were sitting on the couch and I was like, oh, I just need my twin. You're like, I need my twin too. And there's some comfort in holding on to each other.
Right.
But it's that same kind of unexplained, unprovoked anxiety that just
That's
hits
right.
you in the middle of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else feeling that?
I think
And somebody said be fearless. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
It's not fear.
it's not fear.
It's
anxiety.
anxiety.
Yeah. It's anxiety, it's premonition, it's the feeling of something big's about to happen and there's nothing really that we can do to stop it from happening. However, we can control our own thought processes and we can control our own emotions to a certain extent, and we have to be very aware of what we're feeling and be mindful of how we're co-creating reality with one another. Because that chaotic energy, like Project Reject just said, that chaotic energy, it can be useful, but in this situation, I don't feel like it is. I feel like the other side is using this time to prepare for something that we're not sure is this, but this is the best guess we've got, because everything points to this.
Patrice said, can't sleep at night. Last couple months feels almost like nothing matters, no matter what I choose to do with my life. I'm right there with you, Patrice.
Mm-hmm.
I have been up throughout the nights, almost every night. Sometimes I'll go 2 days without sleeping for no reason whatsoever. It's just
Yeah, me
like,
too.
it's something. And I'm also feeling that same sense, like nothing matters anymore. Sheree and I were talking about, what do we want to do next? What do we want to do here? What do we want to do there? And it just feels like there's no time left. And even your readings, you did some tarot readings earlier. And, I was thinking about doing some DJing at night, going and getting involved in some of the clubs here, like on a business level, maybe getting a little bit of a night job. I used to work at a strip club a long time ago. It'd be cool to be a manager of a strip club or casino or, something like that, just to pass the time, get out of the house a little bit, do stuff like that. I'm up all night anyways. And you pulled the cards about what the best thing to do is. And the card for the future is that it's uncertain. There is no certain future.
Yeah, it's
and I don't know
completely
what
up in the air right now.
I don't know what to take out of that card. Does that mean that there is no future? Or is it just that we're at such a crossroad that we can make the future whatever we want it to be?
I think that's exactly what it is. I think we can make the future for ourselves in our immediate sphere anyway, what we want it to be, while the world gets to be the world and, gets to engage in its dumbassery and all that. We can also have our own separate reality aside from that to a certain extent. And that's what I mean by being mindful, not allowing that chaos to invade your sphere. keeping your sphere clear of these toxic energies, toxic attachments. Even to a certain extent, mainstream media, I try to avoid now to a great extent because I don't trust it. I don't trust the things that they're saying and doing in conjunction with the trigger words that are embedded in it and all that. School, it spelled backwards is the word for hell in African origin.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So somebody had mentioned Ed McMahon. Ed McMahon has been mentioned in many different films. There was an episode of The Golden Girls where they mentioned Ed McMahon showing up with a check. And there was another one that somebody had just found where it was an episode of Breaking Bad. And I don't remember which episode. I want to say it was season 2, episode 4. I've never watched Breaking Bad. It's just needles and meth. It makes me sick to my stomach, and I can't watch that show. I love mafia stuff. I love gangster stuff. That show makes me sick to my stomach. Just the subject matter of it. Although I hear it's a very good show. But in that episode, they mention, getting a big check from Ed McMahon. Mm-hmm. He goes on to say that Ed McMahon did another TV ad for somebody else where he was going around to the houses trying to get the check back and trying to get money back. And he was doing a commercial for that. Then he goes on to say that Ed McMahon wasn't involved in Publishers Clearinghouse, but America's Clearinghouse or America's Sweepstakes or, something like that. It was not Publishers Clearinghouse, but he did go around and give out big checks, but it was for a different thing, not Publishers Clearinghouse. And I was like, what? I've never even heard
American
of this.
Publishing.
American Publishing or something like that. I'll look it up during the break. But
American Publishing House.
Yeah, you guys can look it up. So apparently now he did go around and give out big checks. It just wasn't for Publishers Clearinghouse.
Publishers Clearinghouse. It was for some other random, completely unheard of company that I've never heard of. I don't know if you've never heard of it either. And no one's ever heard of American Publishers, a Publishers Clearinghouse or American Publishing Company or whatever it was. No one's ever heard of that. So it doesn't make sense that Ed McMahon remembers, giving out checks suddenly, and then they're like, oh, okay, well, if Ed McMahon remembers it, here's an explanation for it. He worked for this other company. That.
Oh, I take that back. Okay, so he worked for American Family Publishers.
American Family Publishers, that's right.
But he never showed up to people and gave them big checks.
No, see, that doesn't go with his memory of the events. His memory of the events is that he went to all these houses and dropped off checks.
I remember that specifically.
And
it's referenced in so many. Well, here it is. Here it is right here. Look, Johnny Carson. Okay. Ed McMahon. Oh man, I just had it on my screen. Hold on, I gotta put it back on. Ed McMahon was Johnny Carson's co-host, and let me see if I can pull that picture back up.
Everyone remembers the giant checks.
Yeah, here, Ed McMahon. I mean, Johnny Carson holding a check.
Everyone remembers these giant checks from the late '80s, early '90s.
Yeah. That says Publishers Clearinghouse. So why is Johnny Carson holding up a Publishers Clearinghouse check if Ed McMahon had nothing to do with it?
Right.
I mean, what's the correlation there? I don't know. This is a screenshot from a video, but yeah.
Everyone remembers this.
There's so many residuals.
Yeah, so many residuals from this one that it's kind of like the Berenstain Bears, except it's even more apparent because there's so many more people that remember it. And I remember it, and they had a bunch of balloons with a giant check. Yep, I remember the balloons, the check, and I was like, wow, we could win that much money. That's cool. And so I was trying to, get my family to win, and we never could buy enough stuff or something like that.
Yeah, I have a video here. You've probably seen it before, but it's top 5 Mandela effects, and it was one that Sheree and I did. So it's just a quick little 8-minute video. I want to do more content like this. The problem is these 8-minute videos take so long to do.
Yeah, they do.
I'd rather just sit here and talk and hang out with our tribe too, because we get the live interactions. But yeah, y'all check this out. You've probably seen all of these Mandela effects before, but the thing is we show the residuals and we show the proofs. So we'll be right back. The Mandela effect is an internet phenomenon where people remember slight differences in the timeline. Is this simply due to bad memory, or could it be evidence of a parallel universe?
In this video, we will break down our pick for the top 5 Mandela effects that are more than just coincidence when you use your third eye to see beyond the veil. Number 5, Forrest Gump. Many people remember the line, "Life is like a box of chocolates." However, in this timeline, the wording is a bit different.
My mom always said life was like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
Thousands of people seem to remember the phrase, "Life is like a box of chocolates," instead of "was." In fact, countless YouTube channels hosting this clip title their videos with the word "is." This is not to mention the hundreds of memes found on Google Images bearing the same phrase. But what does Tom Hanks have to say about it?
Mom always said life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. Mom always said life's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get.
So was your life like a box of chocolates? Or is your life like a box of chocolates?
Life is a box of chocolates, Forrest.
I say it depends on what the meaning of "was" is, jerk.
Number 4, Luke, I am your father.
Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father.
In the iconic film series Star Wars, the climactic point for every viewer was the revelation that Luke Skywalker was the son of Darth Vader. However, the line no longer exists within the film, having been replaced with,
No, I am your father.
Once again, we're faced with the idea that hundreds of thousands of people have been misquoting what is arguably the most iconic line in cinema history. However, let's see how James Earl Jones himself remembers it.
When I first saw the dialogue that said, Luke, I am your father, I said to myself, he's lying. I wonder how they're going to play that liar. Luke, I am your father.
But perhaps this was just... So if I can just interject here for just a second. What's interesting is that you have James Earl Jones talking, and he said, when I first saw the line, Luke, I am your father. But here's a script here. And in the script, it said, I am your father. It doesn't say, Luke, I'm your father. So there's a discrepancy there.
Right.
But James Earl Jones remembers it very clearly. And then just for clarity, I overdubbed him saying, Luke, I'm your father over Star Wars. You know, people were like, he never said that. There's no evidence of that. And I'm like, no. I just overdubbed it just to give the effect so people, can see how it would sound,
That said, Luke, I am your father. I said to myself, he's lying. I wonder how they're going to play that liar. Luke, I am your father.
But perhaps this was just a simple slip of the tongue. Or was it?
Luke, I am your father.
So what do you think? Is this merely faulty memory?
It is useless to resist.
Or is this proof of a parallel timeline?
It's not true. That's impossible.
Search your feelings. You know it to be true.
Number 3, New Zealand, a beautiful country
this one
in the
is
Southern
interesting.
Hemisphere located in the southwestern Pacific Ocean, at least in this timeline. However, hundreds of thousands of people remember this small country as being located somewhere else. While some people remember New Zealand as the same relative size, located northeast of Australia, a large amount of people remember it being a distinct landmass directly to the west. In a random scene from the 1993 film Dazed and Confused, a remnant of this alternate geography can be seen. Weird.
Okay, now that is weird. Is it not? That's from Dazed and Confused, obviously.
Yeah, that's from Dazed and
But
Confused.
there it is right there. And there's nothing over here at all. But there's something there.
Right. It is worth mentioning that a similar landmass might also be seen in an older episode of the AMC series, Mad Men. However, debunkers have quickly pointed out that this may be a topography legend instead.
Fucking high.
That's how I picture the debunkers out there,
Yeah.
like that, sitting in front of Snopes.
Uh-huh. Mad Men.
According to Snopes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the trolls that leave the comments, I picture them like that.
However, debunkers have quickly pointed out that this may be a topography legend instead.
Fucking high.
What's interesting about both globes is that New Zealand doesn't seem to exist in its current location. So what do you think? Is this evidence of a major geographical change?
Are you saying the map is wrong?
Oh dear, yes.
Okay, so on that note, the map is very wrong.
Mm-hmm.
The Peters projection is actually the true map. This is going over some FE stuff. I'm not going to use the keywords, but Peters projection map is actually the accurate map, and that's what they were talking about in that little clip. So the Peters projection, what the West did, just for anybody that doesn't know, is they made Africa look much smaller. They made the United States look much bigger.
Right.
So they can create like a sense of dominance.
Yeah.
With the Mercator projection. Mercator projection. And this is the map that we are taught in school. Oh wow, it's getting harder to find the Mercator projection. Oh, here it is. Okay. Yeah, the Mercator projection, showing Africa much smaller, United States bigger, so on and so forth. Now, what's interesting, though, and you've probably heard this before, but the azimuthal...
Equidistant
projection is the one that pilots, captains, everybody uses to navigate the quote-unquote globe. And this is the azimuthal equidistant projection, and this is also what's on the UN. Now, what is interesting about this is the size of Australia. You can see, the latitude and longitude gets larger as it goes out. Their explanation is that they're taking a sphere and putting it down on a flat surface, and so this is the best way to navigate, and that's why Australia is so long in this projection. So, full 360-degree perspective on that, but the map is definitely wrong. And what's interesting is you and I were talking about the possibility of another continent existing somewhere in the world that we have no access to. Could be over the ice wall, could be inside of our, little geographical area. Planes are only allowed to fly in certain flight paths.
Right.
There could be a continent out there that could be an Elysium-type continent, or... This came up when we were looking at dinosaurs. What if there is some continent out there that's quote-unquote prehistoric and it's just there, and every once in a while a pterodactyl might fly into China, for example.
Or fly over territory that, it doesn't usually.
Yeah. So we don't know. How do we know that this is the only land that exists here? I mean, have you ever been here? Have you ever been here? Have you been here? Oh, speaking of Greenland, we have nukes in Greenland.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, big nuke silo. And the ice is melting and crushing that nuclear facility.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So
beautiful.
They're screaming about climate change, and, the world heats up. It cools down. We've gone through ice ages before, way before man invented cars and all that. All we had was dinosaur farts back then and woolly mammoth farts. But that could be their concern there. I mean, maybe it is heating up to a certain degree. It's not man-made. I don't think it is, because all the other planets supposedly are heating up too. But if we have nuclear weapons in silos under the ice and the ice is melting, that's a huge cause for concern.
Well, and that's Camp Century. It was a U.S. military base that was built within the Greenland ice sheet in 1959, reminiscent of something from Star Wars' Planet Hoth. Publicly, it was a science station, but it doubled as a top-secret site for testing the feasibility of deploying nuclear missiles from the Arctic during the Cold War. When the camp was hastily decommissioned in 1967, hastily being the key word, its infrastructure and waste were abandoned under the assumption they would be forever entombed by perpetual snowfall. New research, however, shows that more than 50,000 gallons of diesel fuel, a large but unknown quantity of polychlorinated biphenyls, PCBs, thousands of gallons of wastewater, and an unknown amount of radioactive coolant left behind may be uncovered sometime in the coming century. So yeah, the camp's infrastructure as the ice melts, as well as any remaining biological, chemical, and radioactive waste, will re-enter the environment and potentially disrupt nearby ecosystems and human health on a broader scale.
Well, one of the big concerns that they have, and that nobody's talking about, are ancient viruses trapped in the ice, because Antarctica used to be tropical, and they've got pyramids there, they've got cities there. You can actually go under the ice, and there's actually tropical places with tropical fish and things like that that's kept at a warm temperature. And this is, of course, Admiral Byrd, when he flew into the Antarctica, he came across into another world, and he wrote this in his diaries, that he encountered like a whole another world. And it goes into the Hitler conspiracy that he was, well, it's not a conspiracy anymore. Like I think the CIA and FBI admitted it now. But they moved Hitler from Germany into Argentina, and supposedly the Nazis have a base down in Antarctica. Now, if there is an entrance, maybe into the Hollow Earth, or maybe it doesn't even have to be into the Hollow Earth. Maybe you just get low enough into the ice where it starts to become tropical again. Because you take a look at a moon like Europa, for example, and it's a water planet. The reason is it's because it heats up from the inside out. So this is mainstream space. It's not necessarily the space that I see in the simulation, all of that. But I'm just saying, if that is true, the Earth can heat itself up from the inside, and there could be a whole nother tropical region. Maybe that's where it is. Maybe it's in Antarctica underneath the ice.
Right.
And every once in a while, some pterodactyl
something flies
get
out
out and fly out. I don't know.
It would make sense that it would be a flying type of thing, or it would be something so deep in the sea that you wouldn't see it unless you were specifically looking for it.
Yeah, I mean, Angkor Wat Temple was built in, 1400 BC, something like that?
Something around that.
And they have a stegosaurus on
the side of the building.
On the side of the building. Mm-hmm. And dinosaurs weren't supposedly found until the late 1800s. Everything was found in the late 1800s. The pyramids, dinosaurs, we just had a whole rewrite of history in the late 1800s.
They try to say that Hitler's teeth were found in Berlin, and that his teeth prove that he was in Berlin in 1945 when he died. Okay, where's the rest of him? Where are the rest of his bones? Where are the rest of his teeth? There's stuff that's left behind even after cremation, and that's your teeth. And certain bones are very, very hard to cremate, especially outside in a makeshift cremation type of deal like they were doing. There would be no way that they could prove to me that really was Hitler's teeth, and that they didn't just bring his teeth whenever he did die from Argentina, and then suddenly, we found his teeth, and these were from 1945.
Yeah, Vanish makes a really good point. They use the word conspiracy and conspiracy theory interchangeably.
Right.
Yeah, I remember back in the day, people would say, you're a conspiracy theorist. There's no such thing as conspiracy. Okay, then why do we have laws about conspiracy? Like USC, I don't know what the code is, but it's conspiracy. It's people getting together to commit a crime. You don't think rich people would get together to commit crimes?
Right,
I mean,
exactly.
We just saw this with Pelosi. She just got caught with emails to her husband about insider trading and all kinds of stuff like that. Yeah.
Or hundreds of thousands of people simply dazed and confused.
I am definitely not high.
Number 2, Snow White. Everyone remembers the classic phrase, "Mirror, mirror on the wall," spoken by the evil queen. And many remember the wording written in text during the opening scene. The only problem is, this phrase doesn't actually exist. At least not in this timeline. Instead, the phrase goes,
"Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?"
Now this is where things get interesting. According to the English translation of the original fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm, the correct phrase is,
"Magic mirror in my hand, who is the fairest of the land?"
But this doesn't quite coincide with the original German phrase, which is
Spiegeln, Spiegeln, an der Wand.
That literally translates to "mirror, mirror on the wall." So the question is, are people simply remembering the old German translation? Or has Snow White been changed as part of the Mandela effect.
Magic mirror on the wall. Who now is the fairest one of all?
Before we get to number 1, here's a few honorable mentions.
Which sounds right?
I just want to note there that I had to throw some big titties in there.
A few honorable
you did.
mentions.
Which sounds right to you? Interview with the vampire or interview with a vampire?
It's another blockbuster year for Hollywood, the motion picture Interview with a Vampire.
In the film Star Wars, A New Hope, did you ever notice C-3PO has a silver leg?
Did you hear that? They shut down the main reactor. We'll be destroyed for sure. This is madness.
How do you remember the quote from Field of Dreams? And how about the quote from
I remember building TFR, and as I was building it, it was mind-numbing, getting everything automated and everything like that. And I kept hearing, if you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come. If you build it, they will come. And I said that many times, along with check, 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 check into the microphone while I was tuning the mics. And the next morning, we're like, you were saying check all night long. And I'm like,
Aw.
well, I have to.
Well, yeah, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Jaws, we're gonna need a bigger boat.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
And the list goes on, from Bible passages to company logos. Some are merely due to bad memory, but others may...
Okay, so I do want to chime in on this one here. Sex, because somebody mentioned this earlier in the chat. Sex in the City. I always remember it as Sex and the City, because it was a columnist. I never watched the show, but my girlfriend did at the time. It was always Sex and the City, not Sex in the City.
I thought of it as Sex and the City too.
Yeah, yeah.
That one I didn't agree with.
Yeah, that's why I think that one is bad memory. But
yeah.
I'm not discounting anything
any of their memories.
Yeah. I just wanted to point that out.
Due to bad memory, but others may very well be the Mandela effect.
Number 1, the Berenstain Bears. Many of us learned to read by reading the adventures of this family of bears.
This is my favorite.
This is why so many people ran for their basements and attics when they realized the name was spelled with an A instead of an E. While this may seem trivial in and of itself, the most interesting part of this Mandela effect is the mountains of evidence showing Berenstein, not Berenstain. Taking a trip through the Wayback Machine for a website called 80scartoons.net, several entries can be found containing the name Berenstein in the episode list. Then suddenly, on August 5th, 2001, the names appear as Berenstain. That is, of course, except for the URL itself, which remains Berenstein to this day.
Yep, that's what I was talking about earlier. I mean, it's still there. Alex mentioned that, or somebody, who was it in the chat? Brian mentioned that the author wrote a sequel. Is there still sex in the city?
That's interesting.
So that is interesting. Okay, that brings a new
perspective
spin
to it.
and perspective to it. So thank you very much.
But who better to defer to than Jonathan Reichman, the
This
trademark
is the
attorney
big
behind
Trademark
Spider-Man,
attorney, yep.
Batman, Barbie, Babar the Elephant, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and the Berenstain Bears.
There it is.
Spelled Berenstein. Spelled Berenstein.
So what do you think of the Mandela effect? Has half the world been struck by foggy memory in the last few years? Or is it compelling evidence that our timeline has been changed and that our reality is not as static as we might think?
Let us know what you think in the comments below. What's your favorite Mandela effect?
That's a real quote from Nelson Mandela. When an individual is ready to see beyond the veil, he must first like, comment, and subscribe.
Cute.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun making that video.
Yeah, that was fun.
We should make more along those lines. So yeah, man, these are crazy. We did another top 10 video with some really strange places. Should we go into that for a little bit?
Do you want to?
Yeah, unless you have anything more on Mandela effect.
Not really. Just that people are saying the latest conspiracy theory, TikTok conspiracy theory encourages abstinence from drinking to avoid being trapped in past dimension by CERN.
That's interesting because TikTok, I don't trust TikTok, and that's why I'm not on there. It's a Chinese spy app, and Trump was really apprehensive about TikTok. And they're short little videos, and they seem to let some truth out. But you know what's interesting is that I found a study, and I can't confirm this, but it had to do with the zombie virus of 2020. And they said that nicotine and people who smoke were less susceptible to getting it. So over the last 2 years, I've never been a drinker. I don't really drink. But in Las Vegas, you kind of have to.
Yeah.
It's like a social thing. It's like, when you go out, you're expected to have a
Socially
drink.
unacceptable not to drink.
Yeah. And you're expected to have alcohol at your house when you have people over because you ask them, would you like a beer? Something like that.
Can I get you a glass of wine?
So I started having the occasional drink every once in a while, just instinctively. I'm wondering if the opposite might be true. What if alcohol, changing your consciousness, things like that, is actually keeping you grounded rather than the opposite? I'm not saying that it is. I'm not saying everybody should go out in there and drink. I'm just saying that my body has been doing things that normally I wouldn't do, but it's been telling me instinctively
to do them.
Like smoking cigars, for example. Like in 2020, I just got this weird idea. I want to start smoking cigars. It was like my body was telling me, you need some tobacco during this whole situation. Then that study comes out like a year later or 2 years later or something like that.
Right.
So,
these are the same New Agers that believed that we should all go get the vacation too.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
New Agers believe abstaining from drinking and other, quote, low vibration activities before the LHC in Switzerland was revved up on Tuesday for fear they'll get stuck in a past universe. There's a growing New Age movement that believes that if you had an alcoholic beverage on July 4th, there's a good chance you may be stuck in this dimension when we all jump to the new world.
Yeah, they've been saying we're going to shift into 5D for a long time.
Yeah, they've been saying that for a long time now.
I realized as the journey progressed that it's good to abstain from everything. Like we went through the vegan thing, we abstained from everything. We did our work. We built ourselves up spiritually. But after a certain point, then it's okay to enjoy the Matrix because you are engaging in these activities. These activities are not dictating your consciousness. And when you have such an understanding and control of your consciousness, then you can sit back and then you come to the realization like, we have very little time left. So why not enjoy the sights and sounds and fruits of the Matrix? So, the inner work has been done. I mean, I'm not saying it's been completed, but there's been a lot of work done. And there's got to be a balance there. And it's like I've said before with diet, as soon as you say, I'm going to stop eating bread, you're going to start craving bread like immediately.
You've never craved it before. Yeah.
So what I learned is moderation. Moderation is
in
key.
Everything.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned cigarettes are $10 a pack now. I know it's ridiculous.
Yeah, you roll.
But you can buy organic tobacco and you can actually buy little tubes and a little machine that rolls them. And the thing about the organic tobacco is it doesn't have any preservatives. So if you do like a whole pack at a time, by the end of the day, all your pack's going to be dry.
Right.
Because it doesn't have the preservatives in there. So you roll them, 1 or 2 or 3 at a time or whatever. But they don't have the flame retardant on them. They don't have all the chemicals sprayed on them. And we use them when we make ayahuasca. And we do, instead of mapacho, because we can't get I probably could get some mapacho, but I mean, tobacco is tobacco.
Yeah, tobacco
and really
is
it's the energy, blowing the smoke onto the ayahuasca brew, the pure tobacco. But if you do it that way, it comes out to like $1 a pack, less than $1 a pack or something like that. But yeah, I would stay away from cigarettes though. I have the occasional one every once in a while, but vaping's my thing.
Yeah, vaping is a lot better for you. Rolling your own tobacco is the second best. And then, third best, of course, would be cigars, I would think. I would smoke cigars before I would smoke cigarettes from the store. That's all I know.
I know when we went to
cigarettes
Egypt,
from the store.
we broke our vapes, and we had
almost immediately.
We had to buy tobacco there.
Yeah.
totally different.
Totally different
Because
experience.
over there, they don't allow all the chemicals that they put here.
That's right.
They don't have the flame retardant. It was like cigarettes, like from the
1980s or 90s.
and 90s, before they started adding all these stuff. I mean, that
Flame
flame
retardant itself.
It's plastic.
It's plastic. It's literally plastic.
You're smoking plastic.
They dip them all in plastic before they put it in the tube. They dip that thing in plastic. It's like this plastic coating. And so when you're burning it and you're breathing it in, you're literally breathing in that plastic.
Yeah.
And every time you take a hit off of that. And so I can't smoke store cigarettes.
Yeah, just when you come to the point of doing the inner work and you've kind of gone through the loop, make sure that anything you're engaged in is in moderation and in balance. And I think you'll be fine. If you find that something is doing you instead of the other way around,
exactly,
then you're not quite there yet with the inner work.
Right, and you need to
hold
back
off, and do that. So we
Yep.
drink once a month.
Oh, I would say less than that for me, but
yeah.
once a month or so.
I go to
for
my
him.
friends and they're like, "You want a beer?" I'm like,
Every 6 months, 3 to
why
6
not?
months for me.
Yeah,
I'll have a drink, one drink or maybe two at the very, very most, but that is it. I don't like alcohol. It's never been my thing. But I'll drink if it's socially acceptable to do so, and if it's socially unacceptable to do so, to not do so, I'll have a drink. But I don't prefer it. But I don't run from it. I'm not scared of it. It's not something that I avoid and that I've sworn off. No, it's something that, like everything else, it enhances my life. It doesn't control my life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Enhance your life.
Christian said, "I heard that vaping is more dangerous than tobacco." I think that's propaganda by
That
the
is
tobacco
propaganda.
companies.
Yeah.
Because this has 4 chemicals and cigarettes have 550. Natural tobacco, on the other hand, is medicinal. So big distinction between the stuff they're selling and the natural tobacco. But what I like about this is that I don't smell like tobacco, I go somewhere
I
like a
like that
doctor,
I don't smell
for
like
example,
cigarettes.
and I don't get the question, "Are you a smoker?"
Yeah.
And people tend to treat you different when you don't
people
smell like
treat you
cigarettes.
totally different whenever they smell cigarette smoke on you. It's almost like some people that are of the medical community, they look at people who smoke and who can't stop smoking and who smell like cigarette smoke all the time as being unable to control themselves to a certain extent. And so they treat them differently. So I like not smelling like cigarettes, and I prefer that too. I remember
Sanitarium Radio said, "I drank every day of my life until a little over a month ago. I like this right better." More power to you.
More power to you, Sanitarium.
Yeah.
That's cool.
More power to you. That's awesome.
That's really cool because if you're doing
can't-
something every day of your life.
Yeah,
and then
you can't drink every day. That's not good.
Right.
Has anybody tried smoked blue lotus, dried blue lotus? I never have, but that's an ancient Egyptian.
Yeah, that's an ancient Egyptian aphrodisiac.
Is it an
and
aphrodisiac
hallucinogen? It's a euphoriant.
Euphoriant.
And a mild hallucinogen.
Okay.
But it's extremely mild as a hallucinogen. It's more of an aphrodisiac and euphoriant than it is anything else.
Okay. So I'm going to play this mysterious places, and maybe we'll comment on some of these mysterious places real quick, because some of them are pretty cool. Some of them you've heard of, I'm sure.
Planet Earth is a 197 million square mile rock set to reside in a remote part of the known galaxy. While most would say they have a fair understanding of their home planet, there are literally hundreds of places on this tiny rock still shrouded in mystery. While some are kept hidden by government secrecy and public restriction, others remain enigmatic by unknown forces. Join us as we peer beyond the veil of our top 10 favorite mysterious places on planet Earth.
Number 10, Göbekli Tepe. This ancient site, located in the country of Turkey, was discovered in 1994 and has since been regarded as an archaeological discovery of the greatest importance. With the world's largest megaliths dating back to at least 10,000 BC, Göbekli Tepe is said to hold many of humanity's ancient secrets. Archaeologists.
You know what? I don't mean to cut the flow, but everybody's talking about Mandela effect in the chat, so I want to roll with the chat.
Yeah, we should probably stick with Mandela effect right now.
Did anybody see the changes on King Tut's mask? I think I know what you're talking about. It's got 2 serpents now instead of 1.
Mm-hmm.
King Tut is an interesting Mandela effect. And I'm going to pull up some pictures real quick.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and that's really interesting.
Yeah,
it looks like one is a vulture, and the other one is a serpent. But the vulture was never there before.
Yeah, and Brian Staveley said that he has a Mandela effect stream that he's going to be doing a little bit later today. So drop us the YouTube channel, Brian, so we can check it out, and everybody here at BTV can check it out too. And I'll pay attention to some of your comments if you want to leave some comments. We'll definitely go over them and stick on this Mandela effect subject. So, King Tut.
Absolutely.
Interesting Mandela effect because, number one, the Egyptians are all about symmetry.
Mm-hmm.
And this is not symmetrical.
It's very asymmetrical.
Yeah. The King Tut Mandela effect changed in 2018. I saw it 3 times. In 2018, we were under the impression that King Tut had died when he was 13 by being poisoned. In this timeline, he died at 19 years old from an infection, like a leg infection or something like that. So I postulate that that's one of the major events that they went back and changed that resulted in residuals, if it was a time travel situation. Or if it was another dimension, then... he died at 19 instead of 13. Does anybody remember him dying at 13? Because I remember him dying at 13.
I remember him dying at 13 too. And that he was very young, maybe 13, 14, maybe 15 years old when he died, but no older than 15. Because I remember he was really, really young when he died. And I remember being that age and learning about this in school and going, oh, wow, he didn't live longer than I have, And I remember being a young kid. So... no, that doesn't jive with me. I don't remember that. I remember him dying at 13 too.
Well, this is weird because we have 333 in the chat. That's awesome. I remember a past life where I helped poison him.
Mm-hmm.
And
me too.
I was tied to a tree, tortured, and killed in a very horrible way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that I've talked about for years. And when he died at 19 now, I'm like, whoa, wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
For years, I've been remembering this past life, and I've been remembering 13. And everybody in the chat's remembering 13 as well.
Mm-hmm.
12, 13, yeah. And now he died at
19.
At 19.
Right. Something completely different than what he originally died of.
Could the vulture signify him coming back from the dead?
Ooh,
that's an
interesting thought, but I think it more is to do with Upper and Lower Egypt, because Upper Egypt was represented by the serpent and Lower Egypt was represented by the vulture, or the other way around. Actually, Upper Egypt was represented by the serpent, and Lower Egypt near the mouth of the delta, that was considered Lower Egypt because it was lower, in the river, and so that was called Lower Egypt, wasn't it? It was like the other way around.
Lower Egypt was north.
Yeah.
Upper Egypt was south.
So it was Lower Egypt that was associated with the vulture, and so he's basically saying, I'm the king of Upper and Lower Egypt. But the fact that we all remember that singular serpent would indicate more that the unification of Egypt wasn't as tightly bound up as it was in this reality. In this reality, Upper and Lower Egypt needed to be both signified in this gold mask, and he's saying, I'm ruler of both Upper and Lower Egypt.
Our BTV tribe is just on top of everything.
They really are.
Yeah, they said, who was it? Kevin, I think. He said, I see you managed to fit ISIS in the title. I put Mandela Effect 2022 revisited with ISIS right there. Oh, that's interesting. I'm going to capitalize that.
Neat.
Toth Moses 111 is David. This is going to be weird, Chris. I remember him as my son. I was King's sister healer, and I couldn't save him. Oh, Ellie said that.
Yeah.
And somebody asked why. You know, he was a Hyksos, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a Hyksos pharaoh.
And we were
His father
losing
was a
control
monotheist.
of Egypt,
Yeah.
and he wasn't taking things in the direction that it needed to be taken to, and it was a political thing.
Well, his father really wasn't.
Yeah.
And we thought he was going to be just like his father. And I think I remember now, maybe it happened differently in this timeline where we decided not to poison him, and instead he ended up getting an infection anyway at 19 and dying. And that was, kind of a sad thing because it was almost like in this dream I had, we were thinking about poisoning him, and we were like, we have to give him the chance. We have to give him at least a chance to rule and prove what kind of king he's going to be. And so we let him, and he was actually doing a pretty good job, but he wanted to be too involved in the military activities and things like that, and he wasn't really taking good care of himself in these activities, thinking, oh, he's invincible, when he's not invincible. And he ends up getting a leg wound. His leg becomes infected. We can't treat the infection, and he dies. I remember having a dream about that a few years ago when we first started discovering this. And when the Mandela effect was first brought to us of King Tut, suddenly he didn't die at 13, now he died at 19.
Miss Crone Stick says that we went back in time and changed it. I don't know.
Maybe in the pyramid.
Maybe, no, not in the pyramid.
Not in the pyramid?
Maybe in the future that happens.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe we just haven't gone back yet.
Yeah.
But if we haven't gone back yet, why would it be changed? I guess the butterfly effect would still portray it as us going back, even if we haven't gone back yet.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think it was us that went back, though.
I don't think it was either. No.
But it's very strange,
But whoever
though.
did.
It's very strange nonetheless. But it still didn't do much good because in the movie The Time Machine, we mentioned this on the last show, he goes into the past to try to save his girlfriend, and he builds a time machine. And he decides, well, I can't find the answers in the past. Maybe I can find the answers in the future. So he goes to 80,000 AD or something like that. And he meets the Morlocks, and the head Morlock answers his question. And he says, it's very simple. Had she not died, you would have never built the time machine. So she has to die for you to build the time machine. And it was so simple, but so profound at the same time. Yeah. And so every time he tried to go back to save her,
something else would happen.
She would die in a different way because he had to build the time machine.
Yep. It was so embedded in the time stream that he built the time machine that it kept ending the life of his girlfriend, so he would build the time machine.
Right.
And so it's a paradox that can't really be solved until we discover time travel on a formal level. So the double slit experiment shows time changes in the past having been done before the change. That's true. The double slit experiment concluded that we actually see things several milliseconds before they actually appear. And we know what something's going to be, at least on a subconscious level, we know when something is going to happen several milliseconds before it actually does. The double slit experiment also shows that, what was it? A particle can be in two places at once. And that is possible. Through the experiments, they figured that out as well, I believe.
Yeah. Boy King, I thought he died even younger than 13. Yeah, 12, 13, around that time. As to why, I don't know. See, I remember past lives as pictures. I don't remember them as moving events. I just remember pictures. But I can go deeper and try to get some answers.
Maybe we should.
Yeah. I remember some mundane past lives too. Things that had nothing to do with being a mafia hitman, stupid shit like that had nothing to do. I think it was just like stepping stones. Like you live this life, it's an important one. You live this one. They're not important. You don't even figure out who you are.
Right.
And the only reason that is so you can get to this point. And then you do something there, and then you live a series of lives, and then you know.
Mm-hmm.
So over Texas on July 24th, people are talking about this in the chat. I haven't heard about this, so we're going to watch this video. And you guys and gals, let me know in the chat what you think. But big fireball over Texas. So, can you see the screen, sweetie?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's check this out. It's interesting.
Yeah, it looks like a meteor to me. But,
I don't know, the way it blows up like that. You see how it flashes and then continues on down? Do meteors do that?
They can if the flash, they're made of different kinds of particles, and depending on what types of particles are contained within the meteor itself, once that meteor starts to enter our atmosphere, it gets to really, really super hot temperatures. Some of those components of the meteor's outer surface could be like able to catch on fire, flammable, highly flammable elements, and so those flammable elements get burned off in the upper reaches of our atmosphere, and then as it comes down, it keeps burning. It burns brightly, and then by the time it reaches the Earth, it's pretty much already almost down to a tiny rock compared to what it was.
That's true.
And that's usually what our atmosphere does.
These videos are meteorites,
Mm-hmm.
and they're doing the same thing.
Yeah. They flash really big as soon as they hit our upper atmosphere, and then they go smaller as they come down because they're actually decreasing in size as they go through that flash process. They greatly decrease in size. So usually by the time it hits the Earth, it's down to a little rock.
Yeah. And there's one example after another. They're doing the exact same thing. So I'm going to go with meteor on this one.
Yeah, that's a meteor.
But I'd like to know what you guys and gals think in the chat.
Now, I think it's interesting it doesn't have as much of a, as those lines that are left behind. That could just be because it's at night, though, and we can't see as well at night.
Yeah, there's another one.
Yeah, chemical interactions with the atmospheric gases cause it to heat up. And it comes in really super fast because it's coming in from space speeds. So it comes in super fast, but the faster it's going, the hotter it's going to burn. So,
okay.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah, I think we saw a couple in Texas when we were down there.
When we were down there, we saw a couple. And it was, that thing we saw, though, when we were out fishing was not a meteor.
No.
That was not a meteor
Scientists
at all.
When we were out fishing, we saw a
TR3B Astra. Mm-hmm.
And it was very distinct, big triangular thing with a red light underneath it, and it was moving very slow. And we get in the car, we start following it, and then all of a sudden, poof, just disappeared. Like I didn't even see any forward motion. It just disappeared. So it either cloaked, or it went into another dimension, or it blasted off that quickly. But do you remember these?
I remember the spirals.
That happened in a couple different places.
Mm-hmm.
I remember Obama was visiting Croatia or some country out there.
Something like that.
Yeah, they had one of these. And this is supposedly, according to the official story, those look like portals.
They do to me, too.
They look like portals.
Portals in the
they're
sky.
Supposedly missile tests.
Yeah, supposedly missile tests that kind of careened out of control and started going around in circles. I don't believe that. I think it wouldn't create circles as well defined and as slow as that.
Yeah.
I think it would wildly spin for a few milliseconds, maybe a few seconds at the most, and then it'd fizz out. It wouldn't do this slow, rotating, perfectly formed sphere of swirling going on.
Yeah, people are saying those are portals from the other side being opened up here.
Maybe.
That would be interesting.
That would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it being a missile. Like, you send a missile up, but then it just spirals out of control.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is this has happened multiple times in multiple different places. And if it's an accidental thing, why are there multiple missiles malfunctioning in the exact same way?
Exactly. Just like the Mandela effect, it would be pretty much impossible scientifically for it to be that well defined and that well formed for that long. Even if it were a missile test and the missile was spinning out of control and stuff like that, it wouldn't be spinning out of control and also being in the same place for several seconds, looking like a portal opening up. There wouldn't be any resemblance to that at all. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, this one's happened in New Zealand, I think. Oh, you okay?
Yeah, I hit my leg.
Yeah, so that's the same thing. Is New Zealand firing off missiles? Doing missile tests?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. But yeah, there's the two together. I think the one on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's not really on the other side of the world. They're both kind of Australia and then up in, I want to say it was Siberia or somewhere around that region where the first spiral was, but
I don't remember now, but
a Global Star FM-15 missile. All right, let's look this up. Global Star F-15 missile. And why is it making spiral patterns?
they usually are blue.
Yeah, and you know the interesting thing is that when you look up that missile, you don't see any photos of any kind of spirals or anything like that. It just shows
of it ever spiraling out of control like that.
Right. Yeah, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I'm not buying it either. That doesn't make sense.
No. But I know one thing for sure. During 2020, when everybody was in their house, SpaceX was sending up a bunch of satellites.
Mm-hmm.
And people were reporting like UFOs and stuff like that. But it's all Starlink satellites. And whatever happened to those? Nobody has talked about them. Nobody said anything. See, those are all satellites all going up. Here in Vegas, Elon Musk was supposedly building an underground train that takes you from the airport to the strip to the stadium, all of that. And there was all this underground construction, and then all of a sudden, silence. You don't hear anything about it anymore. They did build the big stadium during 2020, but at the same time, why would they build a new stadium knowing that there's this big water crisis and water shortage? Why would they put any money into the city if they know it's going to run out of water here pretty soon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. They wouldn't. And that's why Elon Musk isn't going. I don't think he's planning on building that underground subway system anymore.
Let's see what happened with that. Elon Musk.
Underground subway, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
They said it was approved in 2021 by the by the Clark County Commissioners. So he's still building it, but I don't see the point.
Yeah, Elon Musk is building a Tesla tunnel under Las Vegas. You know what's interesting is we were watching Karen videos.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I hate it when they say, like, people who don't want to wear a mask are Karens. Oh, it pisses me off. But there was one video series where it was just a bunch of people randomly scratching up Teslas. And I have no idea why. Maybe you guys and gals can let me know in the chat. But just random people going up to Teslas and just keying them. And Teslas have this like 9-camera system on there.
Mm-hmm.
So like every single person that scratched up a Tesla was like caught on camera.
Yeah.
And they were showing all these people. And some people were charged with like felonies because the damage was so big. But I don't know. Why would you scratch up a Tesla? Why would you scratch up anybody's car?
Yeah, why would you?
And some of them were total strangers.
Do this?
Like one guy was like, I don't know who this person is. Like we were just at the tennis court and she comes up and she scratches my Tesla up. I had no interaction with her, didn't talk to her, you know, nothing like that.
I think it's this anti-rich people thing, quote unquote rich people. You know, it's this anti-rich people mentality that they're like, oh, well, they can afford to buy another one. Yeah, I knew. There
was one guy, he worked at Walmart. And he had saved up and saved up and saved up and bought a
that
Tesla.
Tesla. Yep.
And he was at work in Walmart, and somebody came and keyed up his Tesla. It's like,
that's
this guy's like
horrible.
breaking his back, you know?
Yeah, he works at Walmart, guys. He's
Yeah.
he's not a millionaire. He's not a billionaire. He's not Elon Musk. Just because somebody drives a Tesla doesn't mean they have the bucks of Elon Musk. They don't. A lot of the time they don't. There was actually this couple I heard of who spent, it was $14,000 on the lowest priced model of electric car they could find. They got it for 14 grand. And then they realized that the battery went dead about a year later. And then they realized to replace the battery, it was going to be $14,000.
Yeah.
So they just ended up leaving it and abandoning it.
Yeah, that's why I've never aspired to get a Tesla.
Yeah, same here.
I like Lexus, Toyota, Honda.
Yeah.
That's it. Those are the three.
For right now, anyway.
Yeah. No, I mean, even if I had millions and millions of dollars,
Well, no,
I would
mean,
still drive a Lexus.
I know, but when
because-
self-driving cars get better, you might, one day buy one. But until things change, the Lexuses and things like that are the brands you just mentioned are much better.
You can find
people.
Lexuses that are like 6-7 years old. They're pristine condition, one owner, some rich people kept it in the garage. You get it for like $18,000, $20,000.
Yep.
The price of a brand new, regular car. It's a luxury car. The parts are super cheap because they're Toyota.
Yeah, Toyota.
They're very reliable. You can find them with 35, 40,000 miles. I mean, right now the car prices have gone up, but yeah, there's ways that you can do things.
Yeah.
But no, I would never get a Tesla
And a Toyota is a good car.
or a self-driving car. I don't trust that.
The self-driving ones, I'm scared of.
Yeah.
Because
there was a guy. He was blowing the whistle on things. He was a journalist, and they say that they took control of his OnStar and rammed him into a pole, and his whole car got caught on fire. Do you remember who I'm talking about?
Which one? I apologize.
I don't remember his name. This was way back, like 4 or 5 years ago. But he was a journalist. He was talking a lot about very deep stuff, and he had OnStar. And they took control of his car, rammed it into a pole, and then his whole car set on fire.
Was his name Michael?
I don't remember, but yeah, no, I'm not.
That's what I'm worried about too. Is somebody hacking into it and then making my car go into a brick wall or something.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, you have self-driving cars.
Mm-hmm.
What if you light up a joint and then the car goes, "Oh, we've detected cannabis smoke. We're going to lock your doors and take you to the nearest police
Michael
station."
Hastings.
Michael Hastings.
It was
that's
Michael Hastings. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was with Valerie Jarrett at Barack Obama's victory party in 2012, and then suddenly he died in a car crash on June 18th, 2013, in L.A. And it was a self-driving car, apparently.
Oh, was it a self-driving car?
It was either a self-driving car or was an electric car.
Oh, yeah.
Let me see.
I don't trust those.
Yeah, he said, soon after Hastings' death, questions were raised about the crash that took his life. Former U.S. National Coordinator for Security, Infrastructure Protection, and Counterterrorism, Richard Clark, said that what is known about the crash is, quote, consistent with a car cyber attack. He was quoted as saying, quote, there is reason to believe that intelligence agencies for major powers, including the United States, know how to remotely seize control of a car. So if there were a cyber attack on Hastings' car, and I'm not saying there was, I think whoever did it would probably get away with it.
Somebody said he was driving a Mercedes.
It was OnStar, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate Mercedes. Mercedes, like, you can find them for like $18,000, 2 years old, because people want to get rid of them because they are so freaking expensive to maintain.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have, like, if you want to change the brakes, you have to have a special computer to change the brake pads and then reprogram the car to tell it that the brake pads have been changed. Otherwise, it won't start. And like the repairs are just like ridiculously expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Anything else?
I don't think so. Let me look and see if there's any other interesting Mandela effects that have come out recently. The bucket list. The phrase "the bucket list" originated with the 2007 Rob Reiner buddy film of the same name.
Oh, actually, if you can send me the link.
Apparently, that didn't exist until 2007. The phrase "the bucket list." It had never been used before until 2007.
No. We used to say that as kids.
Yeah. Apparently, the phrase "the bucket list" originated with the 2007 Rob Reiner buddy film of the same name, and up until that point, no one ever used that phrase.
I'm going to look on Urban Dictionary.
An apparent Mandela effect or mass false memory. Everyone seems to think they've been using the phrase in their lives long before 2007. Yeah, we used it all the time when we were younger.
I'm looking on Urban Dictionary, and 2007 is the earliest date that I'm seeing so far, but there's five pages of entries. But
that's crazy. Nuh-uh. Come on. Bucket list.
Oh, actually, no, there's not 5 pages. There's others. There's like Jizz Bucket List.
Ew.
A few other ones. No, the oldest entry is 2010.
Wow.
Yeah.
What the hell? I have no idea why people are saying this, because the bucket list is like before you kick the bucket.
Right. Holy crap. Yeah, look at this.
That's weird.
According to Oxford Dictionary, early 21st century from the phrase kick the bucket, die, see kick, popularized by the 2007 film The Bucket List.
No.
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 Not 2 years before we met. No. 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 That doesn't make sense to me.
Nope. Are there more here, or is it just this one?
It's just that one, but
Okay.
then I think there might... Oh, the other one was the Ed McMahon one. So, yeah, there's no more new ones to go over.
Well, this one always got me.
Except
Gremlins.
those. Gremlins, yeah.
Yeah. I remember him being...
Spike.
Spike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because he had the spiky hair.
Yeah, he had spiky hair.
Yeah.
Right.
And they're saying his name was Stripe.
Right.
But I specifically remember Spike.
Yeah, me too. I remember Spike. Yeah, that's the only Mandela effects that I'm seeing that are new.
Yeah, Cinderella's castle being the entrance of Disneyland. I don't remember that. It's always been the railway.
Yeah, that's always been the railway.
I know one off the top of my head. They love me. They really love me.
Mm-hmm. Sally
Field.
Yeah.
Or Fields. Is it Sally Field or Sally Fields?
Sally Field.
Sally Field. I thought it was Sally Fields.
No, it's Sally Field.
Okay.
I think it's always been Sally Field. You like me. You really like
And I can't deny the fact that you like me. Right now. You like me.
No, it's you really like me. No, she in the old one you said you like me, you really like me.
Pardon me.
Thank you. You love me. You really love me.
Yep.
See,
he remembers
that was parodied there.
Yep.
And then I want to say it was parodied in Tiny Toons too.
Yeah, Tiny Toons parodied it too. No, it's not that one.
No.
Accepting Award, Tiny Toons, or something like that.
I don't remember, but it's a crazy world. Crazy world.
It is a crazy world.
As somebody mentioned, Tom Hanks is at the center of a lot of Mandela effects. And it's worth mentioning because he fired on the Hadron Collider in 2008. They were filming Angels and Demons.
Mm-hmm.
At CERN.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Hanks was there to fire it up.
That's weird. See, that's weird. If they're out of the same side of their mouth, they're trying to say that nothing weird's going on there. And then the opening parade is like some weird pagan ritual that's just bizarre. I'm pretty much if you can call it that, like Wiccan or whatever you want to call it. I do practice some aspects of like paganism, and I'm like, this stuff is weird. This is a weird intro to a particle super collider, like a superconductor and particle accelerator. There's no reason why this pagan ritual needs to be done as the opening act for this technological marvel that we're looking at, unless they're trying to attach some spirituality to it, and then use that for something. It was weird. It was just really bizarre.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it. CERN opening ceremony.
Yeah, CERN ceremonies of Satan, particles and paganism. I'm usually the type of person that's like, this is weird. It's weird, but it's not pagan. But this was really, really weird.
Well, where is it? It's in Norway or where?
Yeah, it's in Norway, Switzerland.
Okay, yeah. So I think there's a lot of Nordic symbolism in
Yeah.
there. And that's the official story behind it. Okay, here it is. A bunch of construction guys going up to a mountain. Well, the mountain's behind there, but...
And they're cutting it into the mountain. This is to commemorate the deaths of people that they lost while making it. That's sick.
Well, it reminds me of the Falling Man from 9/11.
Yeah, it does me too. That's what I thought. The Goddard Tunnel opening ceremony. The Goddard Tunnel opened along with CERN, if you remember.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's a portal. Yeah, okay. Okay, this is where it gets weird. Okay, come on, that's weird. Even as far as paganism goes, that's weird.
That's not a portal.
No, not at all. It's just got a Baphomet out front.
Scarabs?
Scarab beetles. Yep. And then eyes. A portal of eyes. Come on, that's... They're still doing that. Now it's a time. Now it's a clock. Did you see that? There was a clock. And now it's the inner workings of a clock. Come on. That's not a portal.
Bring forward the clockwork elves.
Uh-huh.
Ah, monsieur, cela arrive.
Yeah, time is...
Uh-huh, that's time going back and forth. Forward and backwards, forward and backwards. Come on. I don't know who choreographed this, but we can find out. Yeah, of course they like it.
Okay, so that was a railway opening.
That was the Goddard Tunnel, which leads to CERN.
Oh.
And they opened the tunnel and CERN at pretty much the same time.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yeah.
I see where the discrepancy is. So, okay, so in Nordic mythology, Hydrun is a goat of Norse mythology who consumes foliage of the trees.
The Hadron Collider.
Of Laor, a tree in Norse mythology, often identified with, I can't say all these words, Yggdrasil.
Yggdrasil.
Okay.
Yggdrasil.
It stands at the top of Valhall. Two animals, the goat and the...
Hadron.
Oh.
It's Hadron. Like the Large Hadron Collider.
Shit. It is Hadron.
It's Hadron.
Oh my God, I didn't even catch that.
Oh, come on,
Why didn't
guys.
I catch that?
Okay, so it's not Baphomet, it's Hadron.
It's Hadron. Okay.
They have Hadron up there. Okay. Now that makes sense of the goat.
The etymology of Hadron is
goat
debatable. Anthony Lieberman suggests that... I can't say those words. Why don't you go ahead and read it? Because
the etymology of Hadron remains debatable. Anatoly Lieberman suggests that Hypamir, the name of the lowest heaven in Scandinavian mythology, from a Hyde, bright sky, was cut into two, and on the basis of those halves, the names the heavenly goat Hydron and the heavenly stag Eichpamir were formed. The element rune concealed several puns, but it's a common suffix of female names. The etymology of the new High German name Hydron is also debatable. So it's the German version of the Baphomet, essentially, because it's a common suffix of female names, so it's male and female at the same time.
Well, am I correct in my interpretation that they parted the skies?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they
parting the skies.
Splitting dimensions.
They're splitting the dimensions, yeah.
I mean, it's right there in front of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then we wonder why we have all these Mandela effects.
Exactly. No, you don't do the whole thing with the clock going back and forth and all that stuff if you're not building something like that.
Well, it reminds me, that scene reminds me of this famous photograph here, the falling man from 9/11. This is supposedly the way a guy fell during 9/11 from the building because it was on fire.
Right.
Now he's falling down in the shape of the hanged man from the tarot.
That's right.
And I don't know what to make of this picture. I mean, supposedly it's a real picture. I'm not saying that it's not. It just seems a little bit too close to the hanged man tarot. Does it not?
It does kind of look like that, which makes me, it's almost like art imitating life, imitating art. Because that's very, very close to the hanged man. Ridiculously close, actually.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, look at his leg positions. The only thing wrong is the arm positions.
Yeah, the arms aren't behind his back. Which in the one that's smaller on the left, it kind of looks like it is.
Yeah, it does.
His hands do look like they're behind his back.
It does, and they put a lot of symbolism in there. Now we use the tarot a lot. There's nothing evil about the tarot itself, but they're invoking some kind of energies. I mean, the hangman shows a man suspended from a T-shaped cross made of living wood. He's hanging upside down, viewing the world from a completely different perspective, and his facial expression is calm and serene, suggesting that he is in the hanging position by his own choice. He has a halo around his head, symbolizing new insight, awareness, and enlightenment. His right foot is bound to the tree, but his left is free to roam, bent at the knee and tucked in behind his right leg. His arms are bent, with hands held behind his back, forming an inverted triangle. The man is wearing red pants, representing human passion and the physical body, and the blue vest for knowledge. The hanged man is the card of ultimate surrender. Of being suspended in time, and of
martyrdom, and sacrifice to the greater good. Yeah. So it's almost like...
I mean, he's got his right leg.
At the last minute, like he decides to become the hanged man. To a certain extent, like, I'm just going to accept my inevitable fate. And not only do I accept my fate, I'm going to put it in my own hands and suffer this so that I don't have to be in there and choke to death on the smoke. I'd rather take it into my own hands.
Do you think he independently came up with that idea?
He might have.
Because this seems a little too symbolic to be coincidental. Because what happened with 9/11? 9/11 was a split in the timeline. Some people would say that it opened a portal, mass sacrifice, so on and so forth, completely changed the world. brought in the beginning of the New World Order, the Patriot Act, all of that, occupying the Middle East, created the American Empire, which every empire will fall eventually. And I think we're seeing that right now. But, what do you make of that as an astrologer?
I think on a subconscious level, everybody recognizes the Hanged Man. They maybe don't remember where they remember it from, but they know what it looks like. Everyone knows what the Hanged Man looks like if they're reminded of it, but they don't automatically think of that. However, oftentimes people put their body in the position of something that they remember as a symbol of something that they're experiencing. And so their body movements actually automatically start to become like what they feel like. This guy, would feel like a martyr. He would feel like a martyr. He would feel like he was, a sacrificial lamb of some sort. And he would feel like he has to just accept his fate and surrender to what the reality is requiring of him, which is his death. It's either his death inside or outside. He can take his pick. People are saying the World Trade Center tower, the windows were shatterproof, and that the windows don't match up, and stuff like that. I know that on 9/11, I actually did see people jumping from the windows and stuff like that. I remember seeing that live. I don't think that people can survive a fall that great, even if they were the best stunt man on earth. They would not be able to survive a fall that great, even if they have a huge net down there and all that stuff. There would be no way.
I agree with you. It is worth noting that the Trade Center was purposefully built to sustain an impact from a 747. So those buildings were wired up.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that.
They were.
So one last thing, and then I think we'll wrap it up.
Yeah.
Did you know, what did I do with it? Did you know that there's penguins in the desert now?
And that there's 19 different species of penguins when there only used to be 4.
Hey guys, have any of you ever heard of African penguins, or also known as jackass penguins?
Are they really called jackass penguins? No.
Here we have Wikipedia, African penguin.
Oh my God, they're called jackass
African penguin,
penguins.
also known as the jackass penguin, and black-footed penguin, is a species of penguin confined to southern African waters. It is also widely known as the jackass penguin for its donkey-like bray. Although several related species of South American penguins produce the same sound like all extant penguins, it is flightless with streamlined body and wings stiffened and flattened into flippers for a marine habitat.
Well, there you go. Jackass penguins. People are saying there was no one in the buildings on 9/11. There were some people, I think. I know a lot of people got calls not to go to work.
Yep.
And
not fly.
The interesting thing is, there were 3,000 people that died, supposedly. In the Bible, Samson takes the 2 pillars and knocks them down, and 3,000 people died.
Right.
I've never heard anybody talk about the correlation between that.
Supposedly, 3,000 people died on 9/11.
Right.
Around 3,000 people.
Yeah, yeah. But
interesting.
I remember watching it on TV. It was...
I remember it was surreal.
It was surreal, yeah. I remember after the first plane hit, and I was watching the news, and everybody was like, oh my God, what happened? Was it like some drunk pilot? Or, everybody thought it was like a small plane or something like that. And then the second one, boom.
Yeah, and that one, caused this huge, fireball explosion, which, I was in a big theater at the time because I was actually supposed to be going to, it was like every week they did this weekly church service type of Bible study thing, and you had to go every week because I went to a Christian college at the time. It was my freshman year. And I was late to that, and I show up, and I thought it was a documentary or something. I thought it was like some kind of Christian documentary. I'd just seen Left Behind. I just read the book Left Behind, so I thought, oh, okay, did they put Left Behind into a movie now? And sure enough, a few years later, they did make Left Behind into a movie. It was a crappy movie, but the point is, I had no idea what was going on until the second plane hit that tower, and then I heard screaming. And I look up and I see this big fireball. I'm like, what the hell is happening?
Yeah. People are talking about the gold.
That's when I realized it was live.
I'm not sure where the gold was. Some people are saying it was under Building 7.
The third building was that Building 7.
Building 7, yeah.
Yeah.
So if the
Building
gold,
7.
yeah, I remember they were digging for survivors. Until they found the gold.
Yeah.
And then after that,
they stopped digging for survivors.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It was interesting. So
it was interesting.
We are living in interesting times.
We are.
And it's getting even crazier and crazier and crazier.
So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for sure.
And be sure to subscribe to our Patreon because we'll be putting more exclusive content there.
That is true. And again, to our Patreons, I have a 6-hour show we did from the other day that I finally was able to get rendered down to a size where I could upload it to our Patreon server and all that. So we'll be releasing that here shortly.
Awesome.
But for those of you watching on YouTube, I don't know if we're going to cut any of this or keep this on Patreon. I don't know, but we're at 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So you missed a lot of content if you're watching exclusively on YouTube. So go to patreon.com/BTV Tribe. We covered Mandela effects. We covered 9/11.
Mm-hmm.
We covered fireballs in the sky in Texas. We covered CERN. We covered the CERN opening ritual. We covered pretty much everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, on that note, anything else?
No, just that we love you guys, and we're glad we could join you tonight.
Yes. Kiss the one you love right now. You never know the last time it's going to be, and we'll see you even further.
Beyond the veil.
Love you.
Love you guys.
Hey everyone, Chris Geo here. Just wanted to remind you that if you're watching on YouTube, you're probably getting a condensed version of the show. A link is going to pop up here on the left, taking you straight to patreon.com/BTV Tribe, where you can get the full shows. It's as little as $3 a month. And the reason is it helps us to overcome the YouTube censorship, the shadow banning, and also stay in touch with our BTV Tribe. See you there at Patreon. Love ya.